buck mad because they've been suppressed. Well, I think that time is coming to the end now, that this reprehensible Dionysian debauched cycle is sort of phasing out. People have, had all of the women, wine, and song that they can handle, and now, again, there's a quest for maybe something new. The New Age movement, perhaps, is a certain sign of that, even though it's a pretty, in itself, dysfunctional way of going about it, in my opinion, but nevertheless, there's a lot more free thinking than there's ever been. There's a lot more rebellion than there's ever been. We have the internet. We have more people thinking freely. We have more people tuning in to read the Noam Chomskys of the world and to pick up the underground magazines and the underground information. We have radio stations like yourself and individuals like you who you couldn't be doing your work in a million years. Even in the 1950s, you've been shouted down. You'd have never been able to do it, especially in the European context. So we, in fact, are moving towards a period of time where the ordinary person is operating from a little bit more iconoclastic, a little bit more free-thinking, vantage point. And, of course, again, there will be the fragmentation. There will be the eccentricity and perhaps even the debauchery that comes with all of that. Because as an old cycle finishes, a new cycle begins. And there's always an unsteadying action. So, yes, America has been perpetrating some terrible crimes, but the crimes that I'm more concerned of is not blaming the average individual who worked very hard to formulate and create this country. The Scots-Irish, the Anglo-Saxon people, and a lot of other first-generation immigrants. What my concern is not them, but as you know, if you've been tuning into my free web stream on the website where I talk on the origins of evil, it is the enemies of America that are now in the White House and have been for a long time, certainly since Roosevelt and probably before. These individuals are not American. They don't serve America. They serve the same royal dynasties and elites of Europe who once upon a time had their ass kicked and were sent out of America during the War of Independence. Well, they didn't take no for an answer, and they returned again, you see, and have been operating in the American milieu, but from behind the scenes, as we keep using that term behind the scenes, and people go, what do you mean by hidden masters and behind the scenes? Well, these are very, very legitimate and accurate terms. It's because there is a covert operation because you have enemies. If you didn't have enemies, your forefathers, your American presidents would not have said that when you swear on an oath of allegiance that you have to say, I will protect the country from enemies foreign and domestic. They wouldn't have been saying that if they didn't know for sure that there were certain things as domestic enemies. And people need to go onto my website and check out the free web stream I have there, specifically the one called Origins of Evil, and I'll go into greater detail of what I mean by that. Because you have had enemies in these shores for many years, and it's these individuals who are the real perpetrators of the crimes against the rest of the world, and they're not to be confused with America. So when people say America does this, America does that, I go, excuse me, stop. No, America does not do that. The enemies of America do that. And those enemies are first of all, stabbing America, and then they're going to the Iraq and to Afghanistan and to everywhere else in the world, or Grenada. But don't lay that on the door of America. Lay that at Capitol Hill. Lay that at Camp David. Lay that at the door of the Fabian Masonic elites that rule America and are first killing that country. Don't just blame all America or all Americans. So I make this very clear when I do my talks, is that yes, America is the first casualty of the forces that I'm talking about. And those forces are run from New York, yes, and they're run from London, and they're run from Venice. But it is absolutely wrong. And I get this a lot when I go to Europe, and people are, sort of cursing America out. And I put them right, and I go, listen, the ordinary American person is struggling, is hardworking, doesn't like these governments, and know that they're also being victimized endlessly by these forces. They have so many laws they can hardly move or open a business. They're strangled themselves on all sides by a Federal Reserve, which is completely illegal. The courts are totally against them. It's becoming a police state. They have the most sadistic people in government. Have some pity on the American people, too. Don't just blame all the Americans for causing your problems. And then they get it. Then there's a more positive response to go, okay, yeah, well, I see that. And this also has to be understood, is we're not indicting Americans in general. Far from it. If this country didn't have the burden of these sadists, my God, as it used to be, the American people are capable of amazing things. Absolutely amazing things. We wouldn't have had the Walter Russells or the Nikola Teslas, you see, or the geniuses that we've had, like the Louis B. Farnsworth, and all the tremendous inventors, and Howard Armstrong, who created FM radio. We're sitting here talking on radio. It was an American genius that created the FM radio. It was an American genius that made the tube in the television so that people could, learn from that. It was other inventors that created the film strip and so forth and so on. Look at the genius of people like Walt Disney. And the list goes on and on and on.